Go. Want to put your texts away?
Yeah,
Wanna?
it was for the Get Fit challenge. Yeah. Well, this is our second attempt at this podcast because for some reason there was a glitch on the...
For some reason. No negligence whatsoever.
None. Hi, I'm Lynne.
I'm Tanya.
From the Invest in Yourself course.
.com.
And today we are going to redo...
We're going to do a redo.
We're going to do a redo of the podcast that didn't record.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we've been doing some research. And for our level 1 and our master series, I'm going to try to use some of the same context. Okay, so, and the biggest thing that we have to do as coaches is we have to motivate. And we have to find ways to motivate.
Yay!
And that's what we've kind of done research on the last week is motivation to help not only our clients get motivation, but it also helps motivate ourselves.
We need to stay motivated.
We need to stay as motivated as anybody else. One of the people that I've been researching, and he's been around for years. Like, I remember watching him back in, like, the early 90s, wondering who this guy was. He was always on Entertainment Tonight and kind of stuff.
I started watching him when I started my coaching practice.
Yeah, I've known about him since about 1990, 91, somewhere around there. So, and he was always like kind of there, and then I kind of followed him for a little bit, and then I kind of veered away, and then kind of came across, I think it was a post, a motivation post, like an image, and it had him on there, and it just kind of sparked it for me. So I went and researched him, and this is Anthony Robbins, all right, or Tony Robbins. All right, I lost my pen. Thank you.
Bomb.
Tracy wouldn't have given me that one either.
You had to see it in the last one.
It was funny in the last one.
In the last one.
But not in this one.
No.
All right. And Tony Robbins came up with this amazing little method on how to stay motivated while you're doing all your to-do lists, or all your to-do lists. Because if you're like most of us, like, to-do lists are everywhere.
Yeah, they get lost.
They get lost, and you have to find one, and then you're like, oh, this is like from 3 weeks ago, and I didn't do 3/4 of them.
This is from yesterday.
And did you do them all from yesterday? No. Probably
No. I was practicing that. I was like, oh, what kind of categories am I going to feel comfortable using? And
okay.
Yeah.
So in Tony Robbins' methods, it's RPM. It's a rapid planning method. So basically, it's creating a quick plan and a plan of action that you're going to be able to sustain during the course of your day.
Before we continue, can I just share with them what we did with the masters?
Yes.
We just finished a 3-part series, I guess. Mm-hmm. 3 classes in a row on time management.
Yeah.
So this is really going to complement them.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
But this alone is going to be huge. So in our practice, and when you're self-employed and you're trying to create a wonderful business, you need to-do lists. You need goals. You need action plans to go with those goals.
Yeah.
So lists are probably one of the, if not the most important thing that you need in order to succeed.
Yeah.
In whatever it is that you're doing.
You need to see what you're doing, right? Otherwise, it's just everywhere in the air.
Well, yeah, it keeps you on track. Mm-hmm. I forget who it was. I think it was, it's Andrew Carnegie, right? Andrew Carnegie? Okay, well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so.
And he was asked, how are you so successful? How are you so successful? And he's like, wait, what are you talking about? I just, like, they're like, how do you get everything done? How do you, blah, 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 blah. He's like, all I do is, if I got to do something, I write it down on a piece of paper and cross it off and it's done.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. So this goes back, like 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's and he's one of the wealthiest people.
Yeah. So you need to see what you have, like, your tasks in front of you. So, like most people who write a to-do list, you're probably adding 100 things on that list, and it's got to do with work, to do with your kids, to do with home, to do with your errands. Thank you for the word. Mm-hmm. and to do with, well, just anything. So and then it gets into this mash. So you'll have, I need to program for LDF. Oh, I got to take my kids to school today. Oh, I have to make lunches. Oh, I have to make supper. Oh shit, I have to bring my car in. I got to get my tires fixed. Whatever. And it kind of gets all into this big jumble list. So a thing that that I had learned through the research from Tony Robbins was breaking down the chaotic list. So I'm going to show you guys on the webinar here, or on the podcast here, a picture of a chaotic list. And then I'm going to show you what, like, a breakdown list. So you're going to have columns or blocks with categories. So
the rapid planning method consists of columns or categories. Okay.
Yeah, so that's, like, he's got way more into that too, but this is one of the methods that he uses in the RPM. And this is like a really condensed version of it.
Okay.
But yeah, so you'd have like your household duties, you'll have your work duties, you'll have your...
Give us some examples of yours.
Okay, so for me, my house chores, like, you know, I have to vacuum, I have to dust, I have to clean the cat litter, I have to clean the kitchen, do the bathroom, do the laundry, make the beds, blah, 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 blah.
That's all in
one list.
Okay.
And then on my other list for LDF, it would be to, you know, I have to program the Get Fit Challenge. I have to program weekly right now, and then I have to program for the next 3 months coming up in the next week. I got to get all my nutrition stuff written out. I have to get all my mindset stuff so that me and you, when we're ready to record, that it's already there. I have to get all, just so, and there's another list. And then all my errands would be like bank deposits, you know, if I have to go grocery shopping, if I have to do this, whatever, you put that in that column. And like come up with whatever you need to, like if it's, you know, oh, my kids have these sports, then that could be a column there, you know. So whatever kind of suits your lifestyle needs, that's kind of what you're going to do with that. And then from there, you pick your top 2 that you have to do in your day, so that you're not bombarded and stressed out by having to do 10 things in this column, 10 things in this column, because you're realistically, you're not going to do it. Yeah. You just won't. Let's be honest. I mean, unless you have this super bionic power that you can just
it's not that you're not going to do it. You're going to do some things. You're going to do some things. But if you find yourself scattered all over the place, you can't remember this, why isn't there enough time, it's because you're not organized. You got to be organized. You got to be clear on what you got to do. I think that this has a lot to do with clarity. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So if you're not clear on what's going on, if you're not organized, and there's a lot of clutter up here and there's a lot of clutter around here, like that's what you're going to live. That's what you're going to experience, right?
Yeah. And like the biggest thing with the RPM list is to pick the 20% of your action items, like to make your top priority. That's what he calls them, our action items. So for Monday, like, or today's Tuesday, so today would be like, I have to do laundry. That's like the biggest thing because we need to wear clothes tomorrow. And, you know, wash my floor. So out of my 10 lists, that I would just do those 2 things. And then it kind of frees up your mind to go into the other top 2 things, which today was an invest in yourself day. We have all this stuff to do today for the classes, and then we have to coach them tonight. So, you know, we got all our lists done here. I was going to try to add a bunch of LDF stuff in there, but honestly, it's just, there's no more room in there for anything else other than what I have on my task. So those are my 2 priorities for today. For errands, I brought my kids to school today because they went to bed really, really late last night, so I let them sleep in.
Really, really late.
Yeah, it was almost midnight for them. Well, yeah, 11:30 by the time they got in bed, and Joette, I can hear her cluttering around till midnight. So, you know, like, though that's late. So for me, I made it a priority today to let them sleep in and just kind of have a slower morning. Yeah. So... And knowing that I still had to be here for 9:30, so I still managed to manage my time enough for that. Yeah, for sure. So, you know, those are all little things like that to help create the time. When you said something about time management, when you have these tasks, it's always, he says, and I actually really agree with this, he kind of says a little bit overestimate on the time, but don't give it too much time. Okay. Because if you
give yourself a little bit more time?
Yeah, like, so today, like, if we said, okay, like, we're going to do invest stuff and we're only going to do it for 3 hours. In the 3 hours, it probably isn't feasible for me and you to do a level 1, a master series, a podcast, and then prep a class in 3 hours.
But we just did that.
We did it, well, but see, if I budgeted, and I budgeted till 2:30 for my timeline.
Oh, good.
So
We
do you see?
finished
So and it took us.
early.
Yeah. So it took us. By the time we're done, it'll take us about 3.5 hours. By the time I'm done editing and everything, it'll be bang on to where my time. But I overestimated. I gave this till 2:30, knowing that I'll be done by 12:30 if we actually sat down and hammered out the work that needed to be done.
Awesome tip.
Okay, but if I said, oh, we'll have till 4:00, well then, like work expands to the time that you have allowed. So then we would have just sat here and pissed around and done more shit about nothing. So it's about kind of doing that. But I really like that. I thought that was a really cool thing.
That really does tie into the 3-part series that we did, right?
Yeah, it totally does. Yeah.
That
time management one was really, really huge. We should do a workshop with that.
I think we could do a workshop with that, and then we could introduce this or add this into it as well.
I thought that was huge. I
would love to hear some examples of, for many people watching this podcast, they're probably involved in the Get Fit Challenge, right? Mm-hmm. Or in the, or involved in the Get Fit Challenge, right? Invest in Yourself classes, sorry. Why don't you give us an example of how somebody who works a full-time job, has kids, and wants to do the Invest class and the Get Fit, or just the Get Fit, whatever, how would this RPM schedule look for them? Yeah. Because that seems like a lot. Yeah, like, to do. You have, like, because so many people have so many things on the go, and I mean, what is the biggest limiting belief in this world? To me, it's that I don't have enough time. You want to go into this? Yeah, let's go. You want to do this? Let's do it. All right. So I think since we're talking about it, we might as well go into it. I think that if you have this factor in your brain that there's not enough time, but if you broke it down, that you could see that I have 24 hours, 7 days a week. She has 24 hours, 7 days a week. The difference between the two of us is that I chose to do my work and did it efficiently, and I wrote it down, and I was able to stay on schedule. And we'll say that you couldn't, and that you floundered around and kind of, but weren't organized. I'm just using you, or vice versa. I can be unorganized, and you can be the organized one. Like, who's going to be further ahead? I'm going to be like, oh, there's no time. I don't have enough time to get this done. I don't, and I'll catch myself, like, I'll catch myself going, oh shit, like, I'm running out of time to do this stuff. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I got a month till the challenge. I can do all my work in a week before. Who'd you learn that from, Nelson? Me. She helped out maybe a little bit. That's what my big thing that I learned. Like, I teach a lot of classes. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm doing other things, right? With the EKC, with the homeschooling, with the other classes in the schools, and things like that, right? So I got a lot of these other things going on. So if I sat there and prepped for a month for each one, or an entire week for each one, oh my gosh, there really wouldn't be any time, would there? Yeah. No. Say that quote again. Time allots for... the time that you give, or work expands to the time allowed. Okay, do you guys get that? It's basically like, if I give myself a week, it's going to take me a week. If I give myself 2 days, because let's think about this. I need 3 hours for this. I need a couple hours to put this together. Really, all I need is a day and a half max for a 2-hour class or something like that. Or not even, right? Yeah. So that's the time I'm going to give myself. I totally respect what the new... the new well, he says concept that you share. Yeah, he says he just says establish real time and overestimate it by a little bit, just so that you're not feeling the stress of a 3-hour confinement. I think that totally complements each other. So I'd be sitting there going, oh shit, I have no time. Well, I mean, it's just kind of like organization. So and finding the tools to become organized and the knowledge and things like that. Before I knew that it was okay to be one of those people who crammed before an exam. Yeah. It's okay. It is okay. The only way it's not okay is if you've been told it's not okay. You need all this time to prep. Yeah. But if you're a crammer like me, it's okay. And you know, sometimes though, you actually, like for me, if I give myself the less time to do something, it actually comes out 10 times better than if I give myself too much time. Because I think too, when you give yourself too much time, you start to overthink your things. Yeah. As opposed to kind of going with that gut feeling. Let's use this as an example. My sister. If she has 20 minutes to get her hair done, it is done. Yeah. If she's got 2 hours, and a bottle of wine to get her hair done. That's how long it takes her
Yeah.
to do her hair. My conscious thought on time is there's a ton of time. I got a ton of time.
Yep.
I have a ton of time. And you know what? Like, you start to believe it, you start to believe it, you start to believe it, because you start pulling up more tools to help you really put that into practice, right?
And you really, like, another thing that you can really do with time management is learning, because a lot of people are so scared to ask for help. They're just so scared. But asking is going to help take some of that stress off.
Yeah, that'll relieve stress. Yeah, and you got to, okay, and why are people scared to ask for help? Because they think they're not good enough. They think that they should be able to handle it. Therefore, they think they're not good enough, right? Like, for all
they
these
think that that's a
reasons.
burden to somebody else, yeah.
So this is something that we're touching on in the Master Series tonight. And Lynne put together this really cool iceberg, and what appears to be the issue is there's not enough time.
Yeah.
Okay. What appears to be the issue is the little iceberg that you see, and underneath, and this is called the Iceberg Effect, and underneath is this huge other part to the iceberg, and the real underlying reasons
of why there's not enough time.
You know, there's a lack of motivation. Maybe there's some depression. There's a feeling of I'm not good enough, or I can't do this.
Yeah.
This is way too much for me to handle. Because a lot of times people don't think that they can do it because they've never seen anyone else do it.
Yeah. Doesn't
mean you can't do it. Whatever you think you can do, right?
Yep.
People do it. Maybe you haven't experienced it, but fear, resistance, things like that.
So you have to have the motivation to want to create the time to do what you want to do.
You need motivation. And if you lack motivation, there are some very common reasons why.
Yeah.
This RPM is an amazing way to organize things if you feel like, oh my gosh, there's just so much to do. I can't keep track of anything. This is way too much. I'm so overwhelmed. I am so stressed. I don't know how to get it all done. This is a great place to start.
Yeah. And just really picking the top two things, because, you know, like all the other stuff, they're time wasters as well a little bit, or they just add a little bit too much stress. Like, you're like, especially if it's for business, like, you're going to want to pick the fun stuff before the stuff that's going to create any type of momentum for your work. Like, I love to program, but that's not going to get the clients in the door. So I have to do some marketing stuff, and that's the stuff, like, for me, that I have to make sure that I'm always putting on the forefront, right? So, you know, those are my top things on my list. Do I always do them? No. Because if you finish everything and you have 3 extra hours, then you're able to kind of go into the bottom part of your list and pick the things that are more fun to get done.
Once you get into the habit of crossing things off your list, it becomes kind of like an addiction.
Yep.
You want to continue to do it, and you realize that you need to do it.
One of the ideas that he had kind of come up with, or I don't know if I made it up, but from his idea, but was getting a whiteboard and putting it in my kitchen, and then having little categories with that, and some, like, my bills, the dates that they come out. I know that you do the calendar thing.
I have this big calendar. It's kept really nice and neat, but I really rely on that calendar. I keep everything on there that I need to do when it comes to the kids, the bills, the whatever. And the whiteboard idea is amazing. Like, we both work out of our homes. I do the majority of my work in my living room, my kitchen, wherever my kids are. So not upstairs in the office or next to the computer desk or anything. So I'm going to stick it right in my living room. This is my office. This is my home. I'm going to make it look beautiful. A piece of the character in my home. And I'm going to have my columns there. Yeah. Because really, you know, like, part of our program is based on neuroplasticity, right? Like, the more I see it, the more I see it, the more I see it, the more I'm going to do it, the more I'm going to do it.
And that's the biggest thing. Like, so you column those tasks, you put them on your whiteboard, and then you see them all the time. Like, if I'm going to put mine in my kitchen, I'm in my kitchen all the time. I'm always eating food. So I'm always walking in my kitchen to get a cup of coffee, or to get some water, or to get something to eat, and then I walk back to where my computer desk is. So I'll even have 2 whiteboards. I don't care. But at this point, like, where I'm going to see it is always going to be in my kitchen. So I'm going to see, okay, did I vacuum today? No. Well, I got to do that because it's on my top priority list. My top priority list. You have 20% out of 10. Okay, so 2 out of 10 things you have to do in every one of those lists in your day. Just start off with that. You can start off with that. You can even start off with one out of all of those things. And then you create the momentum. You create that motivation.
A sense of how long it really takes you to do something, right? You might look at something and go, oh my gosh, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do that. But if everything's organized in its own column, it's kind of like it's all organized, so you can group them together.
Yep.
Right? Because you can see what's in front of you, and you can get even that much more done. Because
if you want to really master the thing of time, is when you start cleaning, stick your timer on. Everybody's got one of these. Stick your timer on. See how long it takes you to vacuum. See how long it takes you to sweep your floors. And do it back to back. Vacuum, sweep your floors, or vacuum your floors. I don't know, whatever you do at home, time it. Because if it only takes you 15 minutes and you're giving yourself a day to do it, you know, you're going to piss around for that day until you realize it's 15 minutes of your day. Time yourself when you do the dishes. And then you have a real estimate of time. And then if it takes you 10 minutes to do the dishes, budget 20 minutes.
There you go. Yeah, a part of my, big part of my work is research. Just research, learning. And so what I do when I clean is I clean while I'm researching.
Yeah. To me, it creates that want and that motivation. Okay,
and that energy, right?
Yeah.
If for anybody who has followed us from the beginning, we talked a lot about the law of attraction. Mm-hmm. And when you're in that energy and that space, you're doing a lot of magnetic work. Yeah. You're doing a lot of you're attracting a lot of the same energy, right? So I'm okay with doing an entire day of tidying and research because I just spent an entire day attracting what I'm vibrating so highly out there. Yeah. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And I think you have to be okay with that. I mean, you have to be okay with like, I mean, you can live a life of making lists and throwing them everywhere and not getting anything done and always feeling frustrated, or you can start...
Or not listening.
Okay?
Or not making lists.
Or not making lists at all. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, and then you kind of start to... And, I mean, trust me, like, I spent a lot of time not making lists, and I've only recently, I'd say in the last year, started making lists because there's just too much to do. And even if it's an idea that I have in my head, and I'll write it down, and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to get back to that. But at least I wrote down that idea now. Like,
and on your whiteboard, you can have a separate column for, you know, ideas. Keep them up there, and then later on, if you're doing a lot of this vibrational work and focusing, the idea toward that idea or the action step to get that idea will come to you.
Yeah. But at least you have it there. It's there if you need it. And you know, when you've accomplished a task and or if you've accomplished a goal, and then that idea is there, you're like, you know what, I really didn't need that one, and you can always just take it off. Or you'll be like, okay, now it's time for this one. Because I think if you start to clutter yourself with too many goals, I think you just kind of start to push other ways.
Kind of like, take for instance my EKC, the Empowering Kids program. One of my goals is to certify the program, so other people can take it and learn how to teach it in their camps, right? So that would be something I'm gonna keep that in the back burner kind of thing, right? Or what's one of yours?
One of mine is to get it's to get my gym for LDF, and I've had to put that completely on a back burner right now just to make like the money aspects of it to make sense. So then once I've kind of gotten all that down, I think I had to learn a lot of what I needed to learn last year, and this year is going to be implementing it, and then next year I think is going to be the year that I'm actually going to be able to go for it, like realistically. So the gym is definitely my thing, but it's an idea, it's there, and for right now I'm happy where I'm at. I have got amazing people that I rent from, and they're really understanding, especially after the little mess up yesterday, and so
yeah.
But I think so that's my biggest thing. Another thing that I have huge aspects and aspirations for is to get our workshops like huge, big screens, video cameras, like live streaming.
That's her thing. The techie thing is her thing.
Yeah,
like,
and that but I see it. Like I see that, and you know, you're doing the coaching thing, and I'm doing everything in the background, and you're in the front. And I love the research behind the workshops because it's so much fun. Because like when we collaborate, it's so much fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
So there you go. A little bit of motivation, a little bit of time management for you guys.
A little
We
bit of
are
kick in the
starting our level. This is our second week now for level 2, so pretty stoked about that.
I love them.
And then we're going to have, I guess, we're going to sit down and figure out a schedule for summer. I know we're talking about another workshop.
Yes.
When we can time manage that a little bit. This next workshop, I've got some killer ideas. I know that you've got some killer ideas. It's going to be collaborating it. Maybe we do a full day next time.
You know what? I wrote that down about 3 times. I'm taking 2 courses right now, and I'm just about to hop on my next one in about 2 weeks. So I got a lot of learning under my belt.
Yeah.
And I'm really pushing toward like a 1-day intensive.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to get your learning on and make like a really implement change, the last workshop we did was 2 hours, which was a step up from our hour workshops. This time I say it's a day. We have a lunch together.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is, because once you get that momentum going and you get around energy, I find that when we do the 2-hour workshops, you just get them comfortable by the time it ends. And you gotta get comfortable.
Yeah, Tony Robbins actually talks about that often too. He had gone to a workshop and he had paid like boatloads of cash for this thing, and it was a 4-hour workshop. He said by the time they started, there was half an hour. He said by the time they started talking, there was an hour and 20 minutes, and then they break for lunch for an hour and a half. And then again, you get settled. It takes another half an hour to kind of start that again. And he's like, I got nothing out of that. He's like, once the momentum started, we were stopping to take a break, or we were stopping to, because it was done. And so I think like a full day, I don't think 4 hours is enough.
No. I would love to offer 4 hours for one-on-one.
Yeah.
That it would be wonderful. But for a group workshop, 9 o'clock in the morning till like
3 or 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have the lunch brought in, keep going.
Yeah.
Chit chat throughout, take a little break for the smokers or the people who have to go to the washroom or whatever.
So I think that that's going to be the next one. It's going to be a full day, and I'm pretty stoked for that. Actually, I think that that's my goal. Yeah,
totally.
So there you have it, guys. If you guys have any questions, comments, or ideas for web podcasts, why do I keep calling these webinars? Oh my god, podcasts. Then write them on the link. I don't know. Write them in the link below. If you like my new shirt, comment
you can
on
buy
that.
them.
Like it, and then buy it.
Like it and buy it. Say nope to dope.
No, there's no hope with dope.
There's no hope with dope.
Jimmy Fallon, you're a genius. Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you
for coming and hanging out with us. We really, really, really appreciate it, because we get to talk about what we love, and I hope it makes a difference in your lives. Now you can say goodbye.
That was said very well.
Booyah!
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.